I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
Welcome. Today, I have 3 cases that I definitely wanted to talk about from the prior week. I will open up for questions towards the end. If you all have any general questions about cases that I'm covering or recent videos that I've done. But in this video, I wanted to talk first about a case out of Columbia, South Carolina. It is a very difficult case, and my heart goes out to the victim in this case. And while the victim in this case was not perfect, so he did have a weapon on him, it does not sound like he drew it out while he was in the store. And what the jury is going to have to decide is, did the store owner, Rick Chow, did he use justifiable force in this case? And honestly, I don't know what the jury instructions are going to say. So this case, there's a full coverage of this case. I think it was 3 or 4 days of testimony. On Friday, just yesterday, the prosecution rested, and then the defense called 3 witnesses, including the store owner's son. And the store owner's son testified. You will see videos, if your algorithm is anything like mine, where the state did go pretty hard at the store owner's son. And I don't know if that will backfire with the jury at all. I'm not sure. But the victim in this case was 14 years old, and he was in a Shell gas station. He was in the convenience store, and there is video. There is video of him coming into the store. They ask him to take off his book bag, and he does. He takes off his bag. He goes over to the water, he looks around, and then he goes over to a case with waters, and he does take 4 waters out. But then you see him put the 4 waters back. And I'm not sure if when they saw him take the waters, if they didn't see him put them back. Because as he's going to leave the store, he's confronted and he's asked to give the waters back. Well, he didn't have any waters. And so, there's probably an argument. He picks up his bag, but then he is chased out of the store, and the state describes it as him being chased about the length of a football field plus some additional yards. He is chased for a long way, and he falls down at some point, and the son admits that when he fell down while being chased out the store, that's when the son noticed that he had a weapon. And so he saw a pew pew, and eventually the father catches up to all of them and all the content warnings. The father ends up firing shots that strike and kill him in the back. And now, was he maybe going to rob the store? So if this case had been him being in the store, he pulled the weapon while he was in the store attempting to rob the store, and something happened, I don't even know if I would even be covering this case. There is self-defense, and then there is somebody using a weapon in an offensive situation. Because let's say he did take some waters. Let's say he did. The state is proposing this, that did not mean to take his life. So those are the claims in this case. It was 130 yards was from the store to how far he was chased. And the store had a very intricate camera system where they can see all of these different things, and looking back at it, we now know he didn't steal anything. And even if he had stolen some waters, you call the police. There were other measures to take. This store did have a wall of shame where individuals who had stolen from the store in the past, that their images were entered because there was some type of like advanced technology, some type of face recognition. I don't know. So I don't understand all so I'm not a technological person. Dad, my husband would definitely, he's the aerospace engineer, and the son of the store owner, he was I think he has an engineering background, and he was just helping out at the store. This whole situation is just very, very tragic. And so I see that this individual mentions that Rick Chow also had multiple prior incidents of firing on suspected shoplifters the jury doesn't know about. Okay. Because I was thinking that would probably be too prejudicial to bring up. So if there was a pattern of doing something like this, and now, granted, people should not steal from stores. They shouldn't. That should not happen. If you operate a store, so we have a Shell station that's kind of close to us that we call Shady Shell. Like, there are always people loitering around it. Like, there's always a lot. Like, I don't personally go to that gas station if I don't have to. There are a few other gas stations. I normally go to a Wawa, or I normally go somewhere else. I personally don't go to the Shell at one particular place because it's just, I don't know what goes down there, but like, it has a feel. It has a feel. Um, my unofficial co-host. Yeah. So where does mommy normally stop to get gas? Wawa, yes. And so when you are in a store, you don't put your hands in your pocket. Do you know why mommy says that? My son is 8 years old. And unfortunately, sometimes, so I have been watched and followed in stores, likely just because of maybe for whatever reason, the store owner decides to follow me around the store. That's more common in malls. I've never been followed around a convenience store. Um, yeah, so yeah, we've never been followed around in Wegmans, but when you're in the store, because sometimes somebody might think that you might be doing something you're not supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? Yes. So you make sure that you keep your hands out of your pocket. And if you pick up something to buy, we always put it in the cart. Now, I've gotten loose. So, like, if I go to Aldi, I will sometimes take a grocery bag and I will put all of my, if I decide not to get a cart, I'll put my items inside the bag. And then I always take it up to them. And, we always do all of the things. And I don't think racial profiling is going to come up at all in this case. But implicit bias is definitely something that comes up when you're considering things like this. Now, the 14-year-old, he did illegally have a weapon on him. And once again, like I said, if he went in, and I don't know if that will play into the jury's mind. Now, it shouldn't. They should base it on the facts of the case. Uh, I think the state asked, because I tried to listen to a portion of the jury, because they went over jury instructions at the end of yesterday. So the state rested and the defense rested. They're going to be closing arguments and jury instructions on Monday. And so we'll likely have a verdict for this case next week. I would not be surprised. So I don't know if the jury might find him guilty because the state has charged him with redrum. And I don't know if I don't know if there will be any lesser includeds. I'm sure the defense would like a not guilty, or the defense would likely like something that is maybe manslaughter or something. But they are claiming defense of another, that he was in fear that something would happen to his son, and that's why he did what he did. He attempted a stand your ground, and he had a stand your ground hearing, and he was not allowed to take that defense because he's the one that pursued you can't stand your ground. 130 miles away from where the incident started. And so he was not allowed to go with stand your ground. If you would like a legal breakdown of the specifics of this case, JD explains. He does great. I think it was like a 20-30 minute video where he went over the opening statements. Now, I think it might have been good if the state had just mentioned that in their opening statement that yes, the victim did have a weapon, but at no point and the state might not have known what the son was going to say because the state did not call the son. So the son was with the dad when the defense is the one that called the son. The state did not call him. So I don't know if the state knew exactly what the son was going to say. And so that might have been why they didn't include any of that, because they might be thinking it's completely irrelevant to what happened. They chased him down. Even if at some point they found a weapon, that's where they could have just watched him run away, called the police, and then made sure that everybody was safe, and that 14-year-old would still be alive. So very, very difficult case. Um uh and so that's where I do say, like, I don't know what his intention was. Probably a good idea that they asked him to leave his book bag, and he was probably just going to leave the store. And I do think they thought that he had stolen something. I think they truly did think that, but they didn't watch the cameras. And if he stole four waters is probably, you can buy a whole 12 pack of water. And I think convenience stores probably get it at a retail rate and not like the other rate. It was probably less than $10 worth of merchandise. Like, and now all these lawyer fees, like now he's facing significant jail time. They probably don't own that store anymore because I'm sure that entire community, I can imagine the community has some thoughts and feels about all of this. And um, you can't use defense of others or self-defense when you are the person pursuing the victim. You just can't do it. But it does bring up very difficult topics because as you all heard me talking to my 8-year-old, so my kiddo, he's almost 5 feet tall at 8 years old. So I'm 5'6", and he comes up to about here on me. No, you'll probably be like 6'5", 6'6". You'll probably be tall like Grandpa Patrick. You'll probably be tall like mommy's dad. You're already very tall. You're going to be very tall. But because you're very tall, people might think that you're older than you really are. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, sometimes people have bad ideas. Sometimes people think a bad guy looks a certain way when there is no one particular look to somebody that does crimes. So there are people of all races, hues, genders that do crimes. If you live in an area that just so happens, and I don't know enough about the makeup of where all of this took place. I have been a friend of mine used to live she used to live in Sumter, South Carolina, and I interviewed for a practicum site, no, internship site in Columbia, South Carolina. And like I imagine that even if the people that engage in a negative behavior just so happen to look like that particular victim, or let's say the victim was stealing water, death is not the consequence of stealing water. Like that's where, if that's a petty crime, you involve the police, you have it on film. The police can probably talk to the local school. They can identify exactly who this individual is, and you take care of it that way. You don't escalate things to this level. And so and I think a lot of it comes from media. And so there can be a lot of people of all, because Lisa, there are even some African Americans that can be very biased towards people within their own race. Um, he never should have been chased. The victim in this case, he should have never been chased. And so this is a very triggering case. I still wanted to talk about it. I do wonder if the way that the state went really hard after the defendant's son. And I don't know how that will come across with the jury. If there's anybody on the jury that's identifying with them, that could potentially backfire. I don't know, because the state's reading the room. The state can see the jury. They kind of know how things are going. And I would go based on the law. Whatever the law said, I would definitely go based on whatever fit with the law. And let me see. Thank you for being a member for 3 months. I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. Mary Jubin. Yep. So I'm not good at guessing people's things. All right. Let's see. So now, any other questions about this case before we jump to the next case? So let's go on ahead and switch over. I do have a link. Lawyer Lee covered the appeal that was filed by Gerhard Koenig's team. So he was convicted of attempted redrum or attempted manslaughter. I think it was attempted manslaughter of his wife who survived. And but based on the jury interviews, his lawyer believes that the jurors misunderstood the jury instructions. And the jury instructions in that case were incredibly difficult. Okay, like if the jury instructions were very complicated, and if the defense did not object to the wording of some of those things, remember, I'm not a lawyer. You have to follow a lawyer to get the legal background. But my understanding is that their objection is based on the jurors in the juror interviews saying that they did not believe that he had like the intent to harm his wife. Like that's what, but they did feel like he was in an emotional state, and that explained his behavior. And so his team is thinking he should have been found guilty of assault and not the higher attempted manslaughter charge. This whole thing, my heart goes out to hopefully soon his soon to be his ex-wife Ariel, and the children in this case, because he'll likely be looking at a lot less time if for some reason they did have to retry it. I don't know what the appeal process, I don't know what that will look like for them, but I think it can't just be that the jurors misunderstood. I think it has to be that the judge did not clearly explain, or like that there were, because the jury could have asked questions to clarify anything if there was confusion. And so if everything is signed properly, I hope he doesn't get, just my own personal thoughts. I hope he doesn't get a new trial, but we will see what happens. I personally did not buy his story, but that's just me personally. I know there are mixed thoughts on that. Just all of the things that went into it. I did see an interview with his former boss. So if you scour the YouTubes, the tubes of you, there is an interview with his former boss, and the former boss just says he was a nice guy. They didn't have any problems with him. I wanted to know, do y'all keep the propofol or whatever, like the medication that he had? Do y'all keep that at home? Like, was his go bag, was that normal? But the interviewer did not ask the boss that question. And I don't know if that could have led to any type of like, I don't know. I don't know if there was a legal reason they didn't ask that question, but that's the question I wanted answered, because that was the part that I found weird, is why did he have those medications just hanging out at home? And so Very, very, very difficult case. I do agree that the jury instructions were confusing, but that's where there are lots of cases where the jury instructions are confusing. And uh and he has a very zealous defense attorney. And so zealous is like, so he's like, he fights for him really hard. Very passionate. He has a very passionate defense attorney. Uh, and so that's that case. Let me know if y'all have any questions. I'm definitely going to be following that one. And then lastly, we have Carly Gregg. This was a very difficult case. I just recently made I reviewed the interview. So you watch me watch her father's interview. So her birth father did an interview with a news station. My personal thoughts on the interview, he could have said less. It reminds me of like, but it was worse. His interview was honestly worse than some of like Shirilla's dad's interviews, because in Carly's dad's interviews, he pretty much like tore down Carly's mom, and he wanted no blame for himself. He didn't seem to acknowledge any of the things he did or any of the things that he could do different. And while I get just the point of why he decided to do that interview, I wasn't sure. And initially, I had that interview members only because I wasn't sure what I was gonna say as I was watching it, but I went back, I rewatched it, and I was like, okay, we can release this to the masses. That video is not monetized, so I don't think y'all have any commercials on that one. Or if you do see commercials, because it's for copyright or whatever, the original interviewer, they get all the monetization from that particular video. So I have no control over any of the ads in that video. But hey, so, and I did make a Carly Gregg playlist because she recently had I think it was at the Supreme Court of Mississippi. She had she had an appeal hearing, and her attorney talked, and it was her appellate attorney, because she had different trial attorneys. I personally was not thrilled with her trial attorney. If you watch over on Melanie Little's channel, Melanie Little actually had Carly Gregg's attorney on her channel at least once or twice. And she goes into things, she talks about things. I wasn't impressed with it. I think they missed a lot of deadlines. According to the appellate attorney, there were times that the trial attorneys maybe could have objected and they didn't. And because the judge, this incident happened in like, let me pull up my notes on this case, because this went to trial very quickly. So because she was convicted in September of 2024, and I want to say the incident might have been, it was in March. So the incident was in March of 2024, and she had her trial and was convicted in September. So she was convicted of redrum for her 40-year-old mother, and then attempting to unalive her stepfather and tampering with evidence. That's what she was convicted of. Her defense in this case was insanity. She attempted an insanity defense. The hard thing with this trial, with this case, with her attempting to do insanity, is we have video, because there were home cameras that caught everything that happened before the incident, like from them driving, from them pulling into the garage. It captured everything, and she seems to know where the cameras are. And at one point, I believe she turns the camera away, and that just seems very deliberate, because for somebody to be found not guilty by reason of insanity, they have to not know that what they're doing is a crime. And that's a very, very hard threshold to meet. I'm not saying that she wasn't experiencing psychosis. So a person can be psychotic and still not be found like not guilty by reason of insanity. And it reminds me of the court jumper case. So the guy that out of Las Vegas that attacked the judge, or the woman at the grocery store that ended up I'm using softer language, that ended up and she was clearly in the middle of a active psychosis, but she also the jury found her guilty of the crime. So you can be psychotic and still be found guilty. She was 14 years old at the time, and her sentence was she was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. She was 14 at the time of the incident, and so she was convicted, and they immediately went into sentencing. But her team didn't ask for more time. Like, they immediately, the same day, she was convicted, and then they went into sentencing. And her team didn't call, like, that many people, like, they didn't call people to speak for her. The defense made it sound like the judge limited the amount of time the defense had to present their case. I don't know if that's true. I'd have to go back and watch it. But uh with that whole entire case, um uh I disagreed with the sentence. I did not disagree with the verdict. So when the verdict found her, because we have her on video, she's and then she hummed after. She called a friend over to watch, like to look at the bot. Like it was a very, very odd case, which a lot of people, when things are odd, people immediately say that sounds insane, or that sounds crazy, or that sounds, but it could also just be like sadistic criminal. Like there's another side of it that it can also be. And so normally there's is it McNaughton hearing? So normally there is that special hearing. Sorry. Whoa. I highlighted the wrong one. Yes, there's that special McNaughton hearing, and that's what her defense team was really arguing. And I personally thought the state said some things in their closing that were like for the sentencing phase, because they were like, if you give her the possibility of parole, she could be at the grocery store next week. I'm paraphrasing what they said, but that was the gist of what they said, is like, if you give her the possibility of parole, she'll be up for parole next week. Like, that was how the state made it sound. I personally wasn't comfortable with that, but like, we were all listening. We just watched it happen. And so, but the defense appellate attorney, that was something else that he mentioned, that improper things were stated during the closing, but her attorneys didn't object. And so it sounded like they were kind of saying ineffective assistance of counsel, but like, because her team, because I would have said, I'm not even a lawyer. And I forget if I watched it. I forgot if I reacted to it live or if I played it back and watched with you all. Once again, it's like a 4-hour video where I go through different stuff. Or I might have watched it separate. My brain at this moment doesn't remember exactly what I did. But with this case, when the state made that statement, I was like, ooh, that's prejudicial. Like that, it wasn't true. Like if she was given life, she wouldn't be up for parole for a while. Like, it wasn't like she would be out in like a week or two. And that was kind of, to me, how the state made it sound. So the jury did give her life without the possibility of parole. And there might have been some confusion in the instruction where it might not have been clear if they had other options. And so that's where it was just, the hearing was good. I watched it, but it was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, I felt like some of the state statements were misleading. they got the verdict that they wanted, and they're definitely comfortable with the verdict and sentence that they got. I don't know. So this was a hard one, and I do think that she was psychotic. She is on medication. At least she was at the time of all those hearings and everything last year. I'm pretty sure she's likely still on medication, but that was a very difficult case. Somebody mentioned the Carlos Dominguez trial, so I will definitely be following that case. I do have a prior video, and I think I shared it. I had a video where I went over his the expert testimony in that case. So if you go over to the community tab, and if you wanted to check out my coverage of that, I will be following it this trial. I will also be a guest over on Trial Live TV. They are replaying it, and so I will be a guest over on their channel one morning, and I'll share the details. And then I will, we're going to do a joint stream where they'll get to ask me questions. That'll be on a weekend. So after the trial is over, we will do that. But yeah, it was very, very difficult. So is she appealing based on ineffective lawyering? So I think it's based on the law too. So y'all know, remember, I'm not a lawyer. So there is legal analysis of what, and the Supreme Court justices haven't made a decision yet. They did ask additional questions of both the state and of the appellate attorney, and so Carly would like a new trial. That's what she would like. She would like a whole new trial. I don't think she's going to get that. There is a possibility that she might be able to get resentenced, because I don't think there was really proper time given, like, for the jury to fully understand any mitigating factors, because I don't think the defense presented any, but I don't know if that's just on her defense. Like, I don't know. It was very difficult. Question: do you think it's unreasonable in general to charge life without parole on a 13-year-old in any circumstance? So, like, if there's like multiple people, so like if somebody at 13 does like a school incident or something, so that's where I think it's a case by case situation. And I do think it is up to the jury. And then please know that sentences can always be redone later. Because even with the Menendez brothers, it was like their appeals at higher levels that ended up where they went from life without the possibility of parole, where they now meet with the parole board every so often. So that can always change down the road, even if somebody is sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Okay. Yes, you're following with Trial TV. Yes, Trial TV Live. Yes, yes, yes. How does someone that age become psychotic? So that's where you should go back and watch the interview with her dad. I made a statement because there were questions of, did she possibly experience bipolar disorder, or like, was there something going on? She was also using cannabis at the time as well. So there can be substance induced psychosis. I think she was mad at her mom. So my personal thoughts, I don't know this to be true. My personal thoughts is that she was about to get in trouble for because I think a friend told the mom that she was using cannabis again. And I think her mom was confronting her about that. And I think that's when everything happened. Those were my thoughts. I don't know that to be true. The interview with dad will... So, because at first I was like, could it be bipolar? But I saw the interview with dad, and I do not question a family history of bipolar disorder. Okay. I do not question. He says that he is bipolar free. And I heard bipolar 3, and that's where I love the chat. So that's why I love watching these things with you all, because the comments, and he could have totally said bipolar free in his interview. And I think he has like a sense of humor that reminds me of like Mackenzie Shirilla's dad, where they joke at times, where like, hey, buddy, this isn't a good time to be joking. Like, I get that you have a dark sense of humor that you like, but now is not the time to be telling jokes because like this is a serious situation. My other concern with Carly's dad is he likely could have participated in the trial, in the mental health evaluations of her and all those things. I don't think he wanted to. I could be wrong. Because people would have asked him questions because she was alleging that he had harmed her. And I believe that kind of came up in some of her evaluations, that he had like blown smoke, so that he had blown things like smoke in her face. He denies those things. He really didn't admit to anything in his interview besides, and the way that he describes things is just, it's very interesting. I personally, I don't think he was under the influence of any substances. I don't know that to be true, but like I wasn't. It really felt uh in general, I can't say this to be true for sure. It felt a little either high anxiety or manic. Like it just felt very pressured. It was a lot. We and who decided her sentence? The judge or the jury? So I thought it was the jury for Carly Gregg. I was almost positive it was the jury. I could be wrong. Y'all know I thought it was the jury that decided her sentence. Okay. So there is a new interview with Mackenzie Shirilla's dad. And because I saw Behavior Arts cover it, and the clip that he covered, I wanted to listen to the whole interview to get more context for what Mackenzie's dad could have possibly meant when he said some of the things that left his mouth, and it left me speechless. I did a short discussing it in general. My general recommendations, not that they're really taking any feedback, would be for them to not do media. I don't think it's helping. I do have a link. So in my most recent short where I talk about that clip from the interview, I have a link to um the advocacy for Dom and Davion. They would like to change a law, like to edit the Son of Sam laws that extend it to social media, that an individual is not using social media to profit from a crime. And so I did sign that petition, and I have a link to that petition over in that most recent short. If you search it, it'll come right up. So you can also search it, and it will come up. Dom's sister has a podcast, and so I've been checking out things over there. But I just I and so Mackenzie's dad seems to acknowledge that he's likely not going to get his job back, but the more interviews he does, the worse it gets to me. And Behavior Arts, he actually he goes by Spidey. He tried to find that Boom merch, because the dad tried to explain that this podcast or this like true crime channel was helping them out, and and he wanted to support the channel. And Spidey was like, there were lots of other shirts that he could have done that actually had the name of the channel, like it didn't have to be this. And he was unable to find that shirt on that, and they could have taken it down, but he wasn't able to find that particular shirt. uh it's just it doesn't make anything better. And the people that support her are going to use confirmation bias to just continue to find things that support what they already believe. um and same thing, people that don't like her, the minute something comes out that's like, aha, this is exactly why she is the way she is. They're going to kind of go down that rabbit hole too. I tried to watch the interview with an open mind. I tried. It wasn't helpful to me. The interviewer seemed to think like, oh, we've put this other side out there and that it might have been. I didn't think it was particularly helpful at all. Uh, to me, it made things worse because also they're saying things where the victim cannot defend himself because Mackenzie's dad saying they weren't breaking up when I believe there were text messages that kind of have them going back and forth. And that's just all the things he said is just it's exhausting. And but it's a train wreck that I can't look away. And so it's it's hard. JD Lawyer Explains did a great job of explaining POTS and the appeal. I did watch his video talking about that as well. Um, I also wanted to share anybody that lives on the East Coast, especially if you live in Virginia, if you are in the Northern Virginia area, it was early Friday morning around 2 a.m. So, content warning for major traffic accident that involved the loss of life, including children. Okay. So there was a major accident on Interstate 95 right in the Stafford area. And I commute every day south to Fredericksburg, Virginia. And this incident was so bad that Interstate 95 was closed from 2:30 p.m. until almost 11 a.m. And that entire stretch of 95. So from about exit 148, and they were letting people back on at exit 143, that entire part of the interstate was just closed and all that traffic, and it's a Friday. Okay. So Fridays are normally heavy traffic days anyway. There were people on a bus that were going from New York down to Charlotte, North Carolina. People were going to weddings, people were going to funerals. All these people were just traveling about their day. And unfortunately, the bus driver, we don't know exactly what happened. Because they're going to try to rule out, was it error? Was it driver error? Because there are possible charges pending. Because if it was negligence, if it was failure to yield because it's my understanding traffic slowed and the bus did not slow. And so the bus hit a car, and I believe the woman in that car did not make it. And then that car hit another car, and there were four individuals in that car, and they did not make it. Over 40 people ended up in our area hospitals, many of which have been discharged, some have not. There were 34 passengers on the bus, and a lot of people, because I watched some of the interviews after, because some people, they may still be trying to get to their destination. They may just decide to go home. Some people, after an incident like that, they might have difficulty getting on another bus or getting in a car. So it can be really common after a trauma, after a major accident like that, to have fear of driving on the road, even on that stretch of 95, to have your body, your nervous system start going into survival or threat mode. And so that's where I like to share resources, that there are therapists, there are treatments that specifically target more recent traumas. And so you try to help the person feel as safe as you can. And then you try to gradually get them back into living their life again. But that's going to be really hard, especially for anybody that witnessed some of the more horrific parts of that entire incident, and then also the first responders. So, because I watched an interview with, it was either EMS or with a firefighter, and you could just see like the tears because this was a major. So Quantico, which is the local Marine base, I think Woodbridge. So there were all of these different because I think they used over, I think it was 17 or 19 ambulances and one helicopter was used in response to this. And then um, uh, so there are allegations that the driver was driving erratically and traffic slowed. It's my understanding that they were going through a work zone. So on 95, they do construction at night. So that stretch of 95, there are probably, I can't even count. There are so many cars that go up and down 95, including the HOV, every single day, that when they close lanes for because they're currently repaving a section, because I go that way every day. And there's so one day you'll be driving and it's really bumpy. The next day you drive and they've repaved it. And that normally happens at night. Sometimes the construction goes into the morning where they will close a section, like a lane for construction. But it's my understanding that it was a work zone and that traffic was slowing and the bus did not slow down, and that it was kind of weaving in and out of traffic. Those are the allegations so far. I don't know it to be true. It can be a lot. And then the aftermath. So my morning commute, I had two options, because a commute that normally takes me 45 minutes took 2 hours. And so I had two options. I could either move my 10 o'clock client to 11, or I could ask my husband could take our kiddo to school that morning, and I would have to leave at 8 a.m. So normally I leave at 9 to get to work by 10. So I reached out to my 10 o'clock client, like, hey, major accident on 95. It's going to take longer than normal. Can you do 11? Client gave the thumbs up. And so just to get, because it creates anxiety for me when clients are waiting on me. So it's different if the appointment's at 11 and I show up at 10:50 and the client is waiting on me, versus if your appointment is at 10 and I show up at 10:45. Like, that, or 10:50, like that causes me all kinds of stress. And so it was just easiest to just move the appointment back. And thankfully that worked out for the rest of my schedule, and there weren't any major issues. And so I thought it was a work zone, and I'm thankful that I have neighbors. So we received a text. I received like a text message to my phone about potential for traffic that morning. I also use Waze app, so WAZE. And I didn't get a notification from there. It wanted to take me some other ways, and I probably should have listened. It might have saved 10-15 minutes. But I was a little bit hard-headed, and I went the way that I knew the best. And it was a lot. My heart goes out to the families that lost individuals, for the people that were injured. Content warning for loss of children. The car with the 4 people, there were two children, and they were on their way to a wedding. My heart goes out to the people having that wedding. This is going to be like what was supposed to be like this awesome, momentous, like this positive event. Because that's how we know the names of those individuals. Because some family members have come forward to say that car, it was an Acura SUV. That the individuals in that car, they were going south for a wedding. And so that's why we talk about being kind, not doing crimes. Um, Tomorrow really isn't promised. And I don't say that in a way to like scare people. It's just in a way to, let's focus on what's important. Let's focus on joy. Let's focus on happiness. I thought I found like a cute little story, but I think it was AI. I think it was like a fake story, because there was this story going around Facebook of this guy that went into a Waffle House and worked for free for like 4 months, but he had no cooking experience. Like, he did not work at the Waffle House. But I think it's a hoax. I think because some people get followers for sharing viral stories on Facebook. So sometimes the things you see online are not true. So I always Google it to check to see if it's accurate or not. Um, uh, so I definitely think the driver is going to be cited. The owner of the company, so the company, there's probably going to be multiple major lawsuits. The National Transportation, I think it's NTS, I don't know, but like the National Transportation Organization is investigating it. This will continue. Um, and it's gonna be a lot. We had a similar, and I couldn't find because there was another like major bus accident in Virginia. It might have been 5 or 10 years. Like I remember there being another major bus incident because New York, there are those like those late bus shuttles, and that's what they do. So they drive from New York, they drive all night. So they leave at like 9 p.m. and they go to Charlotte, they go to other places, they stop different places. It's not like a Greyhound. It's like a special. It's this because normally it's cheaper. It's normally cheaper than a Greyhound. It's this late night bus that sometimes goes. Sometimes they go north. Sometimes they go south. Um. Uh. And I know there have been companies that have been cited for like not their drivers not getting adequate sleep or like things happening with those types of companies. And so often people sometimes they can't afford a plane ticket or gas to try, and so getting this like cheap bus ticket can sometimes seem ideal. But companies have to operate ethically. I'm not saying the company wasn't. I'm just saying that's something that will be investigated. They'll probably look at the driver's hours, like were they getting adequate sleep? Was there a medical condition? Were they just driving erratically, trying to, because traffic can mess with the schedule, but just have a delay and let everybody be alive and everything's fine. Because this caused so many more difficulties for everybody. And so super duper sad case. Let me know if there are any cases that you all would like for me to cover over in the comment section. It's easier for me to go back and check there. I will definitely be following the Lindsay Clancy case. That is a case out of Massachusetts. A mother that she's pleading, I believe she's pleading not guilty by reason of insanity due to postpartum psychosis. And I'm definitely following the Courtney Clenny out of Florida. And there are multiple other cases that I'm keeping my eye on. I know Brendan Banfield's sentencing was moved back. And so whenever he's sentenced, I will definitely take a look at that. I'm doing more shorts. So sometimes it might just be a short update or it might be a whole video. Thank you for the congratulations on paying off almost 200,000. I think it was like 195. I don't know. It was like almost $200,000 of student loan debt. It was about 17,000 from undergrad, and the rest was all graduate school. And it was a lot. So the bus crashed at 2 a.m. on Friday morning. So that was May 29th. If you search, like it's making national news. It was in Stafford, Virginia. It just happened yesterday. Very, 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 very sad case. Yes. Yes. So technically, I guess, but yeah, early Friday morning. And like I said, Interstate 95 was closed for it did not reopen. They opened 2 lanes at 11 a.m. Because I was watching over on X, because I was watching VDOT, so Virginia Department of Transportation, because I have clients that commute south on, because it was backing everything up. So once again, a commute that should only be 10 minutes was taking 45 minutes, just because Route 1 was just, and so they were actually saying to drive north to Maryland to 301 and come south, and I just wasn't going to do that. There's also a way I could have went west. West. Yes, I could have went west down 66, and I could have went that way. I didn't feel like it. I just hung out with all of my new friends on Route 1. Not friends. We were just we were just bumper to bumper for an hour and 45 minutes on Route 1. So, it was fine. No worries. So, I appreciate you all, and I truly, truly, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you all be kind, don't do crimes, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.